If you grew up in the 90s and you see the Sega logo, immediately sounds of Yuzo Koshiro's amazing 16-bit music comes to mind. And not only was he an amazing composer, but he was also a pioneer of composition and has brought many new ideas to the genres of house, techno, and trance music, and has influenced other electronic artists like Labyrinth, Joker, Darkstar, Just Blaze, and many others. If ahead of its time was one word and you looked it up in the dictionary, you'd likely see Yuzo Koshiro's face. And it's kinda crazy that so much of his music can feel so nostalgic, yet sound pretty modern. Yuzo Koshiro was born in Tokyo on December 12, 1967. His mother was a pianist, and when Yuzo turned 3 years old, she began teaching him how to play piano. In 1975, Yuzo began taking music lessons from Joe Hisashi, who would later be known for his music compositional scores in the Miyazaki films. When Yuzo Koshiro was in high school, he began composing music on the NECPC 8801. It was here he began setting the ground for his future in video game music composition. Yuzo's composition career began when he turned 18, and he scored a job with the Nihon Falcon. They actually used music he created in high school for their game Dragon Slayer 2. With Nihon, Koshiro would compose for such video games as Dragon Slayer 4, Sorcerer, and of course the early Ys game. In 1988, Yuzo Koshiro began working freelance. In his early days in freelance, he would work on a game called The Scheme, and a visual novel game called Misty Blue. But he didn't get big-time recognition until he began writing music for Sega. And his first big break was The Revenge of the Shinobi. In this game, he merged many genres of music like progressive rock and techno, and since it's ninjas, he also mixed in more traditional sounding Japanese music. It was a taste of what was to come in his future works, especially with Sega. Since he was freelance, he also worked outside of Sega, and to show off more of his versatility, his work on ActRaiser was mostly classical and orchestrated music. For this game, Yuzo actually had to create a loading system for the Super Nintendo that would swap ROM data on command. This was to get around the Super Nintendo's 64 kilobyte memory limitation. In 1990, Yuzo Koshiro and many members of his family found Ancient Corp, which was a video game development company. They were credited to creating the Master System / Game Gear versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, and they created an action-adventure game called Beyond Oasis. It was in this company that he began music composition work on the Streets of Rage series, also known as Bare Knuckle. For Streets of Rage 1, he used a PC-8801 and a programming language he developed himself called Music Love. He would go on to use these two systems for future Streets of Rage games. Streets of Rage 1 and Streets of Rage 2 mixed many genres: house, techno, hardcore techno, funk, and many others. He aimed to reproduce some of the samples many musical artists were using at the time. Both these games took the video game music world by storm, and it was really crazy hearing some of the same sounds you would hear out of big artists coming out of your Genesis. Soundtracks of the games quickly became bestsellers on their own regards in Japan, and many people regarded Streets of Rage music as the best video game music of all time at the time. Yuzo had a knack for capturing emerging genres quickly, and even predicted where the genre may go, in my opinion. And it's no wonder many artists actually list Yuzo as a main influence to their music. With Streets of Rage 3, Yuzo got really ambitious. He created an automated composing system, and it was able to produce techno music. Even in the music world, this really wasn't attempted all that much. Much of the music that he created was randomized, and it resulted in sounds that, well, to me when I hear it, don't really sound like a human created it. He also had more abstract ideas for the game's soundtrack, and his aim was to create sounds that you could never imagine on your own. And though the reception for Streets of Rage 3's music was not highly as praised as the first two, it still predicted what techno artists would get into with sequencing and computing MIDI instruments to follow algorithms. And how he did that on a Genesis, I'll never know. As gaming moved past 16-bit, Yuzo would go on to continue working on monumental music for video games. In 1999, he teamed up with another music legend, Takenobu Mitsuyoshi, and a few other composers, and helped write the music to Shenmue.
I gotta give him, the funky rhythm, Let me take you on a trip. Let me take you on a ride.
He ventured out of the gaming world and actually wrote a main theme for a French TV channel called No Life. And most recently, he joined a team to work on the music for Streets of Rage 4. The game is mostly written by Olivier de Rivière, but it still has some amazing compositions by other composers who probably deserve musician spotlights in their own right. Though the game is not mainly composed by Yuzo, I still feel like the team and Oliver captured the style and atmosphere of Streets of Rage 1 and 2's music. One work I really feel is quite underappreciated from Yuzo Koshiro is his work on the Game Gear Shinobi series. It's a two-part series of games that mix the classical Shinobi playstyles with like Mega Man and Wario Land, and all these games were really fun. And honestly, their music might be my favorite of the entire Shinobi series. So what is your favorite Yuzo Koshiro piece of music? Leave it in the comments below. And yes, I am bringing back this series. YouTube has passed some guideline stuff that actually benefits the Musician Spotlight series a whole lot. So I kind of feel like it's a good opportunity to bring it back. And be sure to check out our cover of Fright Elevator. And anyways guys, this is Josh the Music Man, signing off.